Is this a horror stream again now all of a sudden? Hey. Hey, what's up, Joe? Merry Sticksmas. Ho, ho, ho. Green
Where we
giant.
celebrate all things sticks. Come sail away with me.
Bah, humbug.
Mike is definitely a narc, so the elf on the shelf thing makes sense to me. Also, you could beat both games almost in the time that it takes to, because we're supposed to do like whatever 4 hours or
4
something like
hours,
that. Yeah, you could get pretty close to beating both of these in that amount of time. So. Oh, that's fun. Yeah. Yeah, that sucks.
Joe. Snarkcast says can't hear Joe's mic.
I'm right here. I can hear you.
You know we can hear you.
You must not be sending your microphone to.
Should we start? Should we start over?
We should.
We should start over.
See you next time, folks.
Ho, ho, ho.
Green giant.
Merry Stickmas. No, the other one.
Potatoes.
Purple giant.
Boy. What happened to stream
Corn.
die? What's going on?
Joe was not
No,
transmitting
but we have
his
to
audio.
start over. I also can't.
Which
Oh, here it
you
is.
have to start over.
Yeah.
You have to start over. Don't tell me what I have to do.
Just think,
Hi,
if you were
everybody.
here for that, you got exclusive stream content that will never be seen by other people.
Cool, man.
The time that you spent with us
Okay,
is
how about
is
now?
priceless.
Microphone check, a 1 2 1 2. Now I might be too loud now, so can someone
Maybe.
check the stream audio? Someone mute this and check the stream audio.
We can hear you on the stream now.
You can hear me on the stream.
Hey, it's
Okay.
Joe.
Hey, I'm Joe Drilling. This is On the Stick After Dark, and I'm here with my gift giver, Mr. Eric Allen.
This was a lot smoother the first time.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was. That's Kurt Adam. He's finally reached escape velocity of the Carolinas. And Mike Ailes is our Canadian elf on the shelf. All right.
Orbiting the North Pole.
Back to where we were. This is Sticksmas 2020. This is the thing we do
Alex
every
is
year.
drinking water.
Oh, that's right.
God.
Alex showed up. I know I had the intro down before you got here, and it got all messed up.
Everything's gone to hell in a handbasket.
That's right.
It must be
Typical,
Sticksmas.
It must be
typical
Sticksmas.
us, yeah.
Yeah. What would an on the stick stream be without technical difficulties? Anyways, Eric gave me both Mr. Shifty and Death Come True because they're both very short games. This game I finished in a little over 3 hours because it crashed twice on me in the final stage, so I had to do a bunch of the hardest stuff.
Mr. Shifty.
This game is Mr. Shifty, yes. Mr. Shifty, it feels sort of like equal parts Hotline Miami and like Hades, but more basic. But there are spears, swords, and shields that are all usable as weapons, so kind of like
true,
Hades. And also, like Hades,
And you
the
punch
shield is my...
motherfuckers,
And you
too.
punch, yeah, and a punch. Also, like Hades, the shield is one of my favorite weapons. And you can get a boon from Zeus, where you can throw a lightning bolt.
In Mr. Shifty?
Yeah, well,
yes.
Yes. So,
When you break stuff, sometimes it falls to the ground. You can throw it, and there's statues that have big lightning bolts that you can pick up and throw.
and they will stick through like multiple bad guys.
Yeah.
And Nyx is in this game, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah, and Nyx. So it is.
Wow.
It is Hades.
Oh wow.
Using this logic, I feel like that means that Dark Souls is the same genre as Hades.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
And that's fucking me up a little bit.
I mean, the only real difference is this game is top down and Hades is isometric, but no, this and the shifting mechanic is a lot like the dash in Hades. Like you always have the Hermes boon that gives you 3 extra dashes.
Yeah. Well, this game came out like 3 years ago, so
Yeah.
Yeah, Hades is bullshit. I hear you.
yeah,
That's what you meant, right?
yeah. That's what I said actually.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, I just said it in a language that sounded like English, but was
That's
actually, yeah,
Yeah.
that meant the thing I said that sounded like English was Hades is bullshit, but in that other language.
Right.
Anyway, Mr. Shifty.
This game
3
is
years old.
actually not as good as Hades, but it's
No,
pretty
it's not as
good.
good
I
It's
like
pretty
it a
good.
lot.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt about it when I played it. I was like, this game is not incredible, but it's pretty fun, and it's like 3 hours. There's about 3 hours worth of ideas in it, and it's about 3.5 hours long.
That's pretty good.
So-
You don't get that very often.
No, like they very easily could have just kept going, but they didn't. They just was like, this is the game that it is, and it's totally fine. And then there's like a bunch of like speed run stuff, like you can map your times and go back and play through the levels if you want to.
Yeah, each level keeps track of your deaths and your time, as you're about to see here.
Yeah, I don't know that it actually gives you anything for going back and doing a better job, but
I don't think
it just
so.
it feels really good to just like, well, like Joe's, like this level is a great example of this one. It kind of feels its best because the way that Joe was like shifting from between little section to little section using the library stacks as cover and then punching dudes. Like that's kind of the only thing that the game does, but it just feels good.
Well, it does some stuff. There's some puzzles that come in later, like towards
Yeah.
the end, with like laser, like a
Laser
like
grids,
laser
and areas where you
grids
can't
and-
shift.
right. And then one of the very final stages puts you in some hallways where you really can't shift to, like, you can't shift through thick walls, so like you kind of have to deal with enemies on their own terms in some of those spots. So it does some fun stuff, but it is.
I was laughing because the little cutscene said, "This guy's an asshole," and then a minute later it said, "Chairman asshole." Blah blah blah.
Yep.
Nice, consistent, good job.
Yep.
Get in there and get that mega plutonium, Joe.
Well, I'm gonna try, but I'm gonna tell you, there's a
It's
big
worth 1 million
twist
plutonium.
coming.
Uh-oh,
No,
spoilers.
Yeah, spoiler. I mean, the other game that when we talk about Death Come True, that's going to be serious spoiler territory. But we'll disclose that before we start doing it. But
Yeah,
there's
The
really
story
not
of
a
this
lot
game
to.
is all
Yeah,
important.
the
Yeah.
story in this game is completely.
So is this
I
a
don't know,
one-hit
maybe-
kill game like Hotline Miami?
Yes.
Miami.
Well,
Yes,
one hit
it
kill
is-
for you, but also like Hotline Miami. Not always one hit for them. So
It's rarely more than 2 or 3.
yeah, there's some
And
big
most-
guys who take 3
Yeah.
or 4, I think, but
And
most enemies take 2.
Most guys are one hit kill if you have a weapon as well.
I think everything is one hit kill if you have a weapon. I don't think anything survives more than one shot with a weapon.
I don't. It's been a
but
little
one of the
while
other
since I played it.
One of the other things you can do is you can lure them into each other's line of fire.
Mhm.
That's a new one.
Hmm. Plugged again?
Yep.
I can't believe I
Oh,
sent-
the game
sent you a-
crashed.
Plugged copy of Mr. Shifty.
Yeah. I don't know. That's
awfully shifty of
really
you.
that's it did that, like I said, a couple times in the final stage.
Should have called it Mr. Crashy.
Yeah, right.
Damn.
That
Show
is
'em what's
what,
up. Yeah, so this was a game that I played in 2017. But 2017 was the year of the completely insane, amazing video games. I don't know if you guys remember 2017 was like PUBG and Breath of the Wild and Cuphead, Danganronpa 3, Mario Odyssey. Like, it was a year where like Gorogoa was like 8 or 9 on my list, and it was like kind of a mind-blowing puzzle game with amazing art.
Yeah.
And Hollow Knight came out that year, and I don't think even cracked my top 5, even though that's one of the best ones of those that has ever existed.
Yeah.
You know, it was just like Resident Evil 7 came out that year, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
It was a really good year for video games, and so this one I always felt like this. XCOM 2 came out that year, although it was a kind of a buggy mess.
I'd say XCOM 2 didn't really get great until War of the Chosen came out.
Yeah, well, no, that's the year that War of the Chosen came out.
Oh, well, then
Actually,
that's
looking
a
at
great
this,
year.
that was a great year because you had it like number 2 on your list. Because I'm looking at our list right now. But anyways, this is just one of those things that I think that even like a year earlier, a year later, might have got a little bit more traction, but it felt like it kind of.
It has been on my wish list for a while, and I'm glad you gave it to me because it's one of those games where it's like every time there's a Steam sale, I'd be like, maybe now is the time that I grab that one,
Yeah.
and then I just would be like, but there's these other games that are cheaper, or these other things I want to try more, or whatever.
And Near Automata also came out that year. Anyways,
Yeah.
Man.
yeah, and it was like a crazy year. Destiny 2 came out that year.
Yeah.
Divinity Original Sin 2 came out that year, even though none of us played it. Although
Yeah.
Doki Doki Literature Club came out that year.
Fuck
they're going
that.
back. If I could take the experience that I had with Divinity Original Sin 2 this year in 2017, it might have cracked the
been-
top 5 even in that
Yeah.
completely insane year.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't. It's kind of hard. Like once you see a little bit of Mr. Shifty, like you know what's up with Mr. Shifty.
Yeah.
This looks fun,
absolutely.
though.
It is. It's a good time. If you play Mr. Shifty, you'll have fun. I think if you like moderately difficult action games.
It doesn't really, honestly. It does, and also like
That
Eric
is
said,
on brand for Joe.
it's just about as long as it needs to be. Like most of the early stages take about 10 minutes. I mean, I just cleared that first stage in 5 because I'm coming off of having finished it last night, so like my skills are
You're
attuned to the
peak
final
Mr. Shifty
stage,
skills.
right? So, but the first time I played through, most of the early stages took about 10 minutes, and then the later ones started taking about maybe 15 or 20. The last one takes a long time because there's a lot going on in the final stage. Also, the game crashed on me twice in the final stage. So, but it's, it escalates in the way that you kind of want and expect a game like this to, in terms of enemy variety and new gimmicks and traps and stuff like that. And
It doesn't
really-
get too hard too fast though. Like it's a
Right.
pretty the difficulty curve is a pretty steady ramp up to the final level.
Yep.
And I think they do a really good job of meeting out the new mechanics at a pace that you don't really get confused or get lost as to like how the different things are going to interact or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, it's like a solid one of those kind of things.
Yep. And I think, I don't know, has anybody else played it, or are Eric and I the only ones who have actually played it?
I've seen it a whole bunch of times and considered picking it up like 6
This is-
different times when it was
This
on
is
sale on the Switch.
Matthew Rory's game of 2017, I believe. This was Matt Rory of GiantBomb.com.
He does talk about it a lot.
He talked about it a lot and streamed it at a bunch of different episodes of Unprofessional Fridays. I'm glad that at least somebody's out there stumping for
Stumping for
Mr. Shifty. But I mean, sometimes just like a good mechanic is all you really need.
Also, the punching feels really good in this game.
Yeah,
Like
especially when you teleport and punch,
Yep.
and the
That-
dudes go flying out the windows or whatever. That like
Yeah.
it just
That's kinda
feels
ninja.
good.
Yes. I would say that's why Eric likes this game,
Yeah.
because Mr.
Yeah.
Shifty is a punching, teleporting ninja. That's
Hell yeah.
although actually, when you towards the end, there's an enemy type that basically is a ninja, and they drop their swords, which are actually more like clubs, but because you don't get to like cut anyone in half or anything. But that's like pretty good when you get there. But damn it. When you there's a section where you get a shield off of a statue, and you throw it like Captain America, and that's also very good because it goes through multiple enemies and stuff like that. That's right. You can peek at things.
Yeah,
So-
you don't really need to do that until kind of later on.
Yeah. The standard like one-shot pistol enemies they take so long to draw a bead on you that they're not really much of a danger.
There's also a slow mechanic, right? That's what that.
Yeah,
other
that's what
bar
just
is at the
happened.
bottom.
Yeah.
So you can only shift up to 5 times before you have to like wait a couple seconds for on cooldown, and then you also have a slow down like Max Payne style thing, so that way you can give yourself a little bit of extra
Yeah, and
time to
that
find
fills
your
up.
moves.
That fills up by like the bar
Punching.
fills up as you attack, and if you stop attacking for a little while, it will drain. So you have to do a bunch of punching in a row.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can see it's draining now. So that's. I don't know if I don't know. The game is good. It's like I said, if you're into this type of game, and like Eric said, this is. And again, I don't know how expensive it is when it's not on Steam sale, but it's probably
Like $15.
It's on sale very frequently.
And it's on sale. Yeah, it's on sale.
It's
a lot.
always on sale for like I think it was like $3 or something like that. During the Steam sale. It's also like in a bunch of indie bundles and stuff like that. It's easy to get your hands on if you're interested in testing it out.
Yeah. So it's definitely. It's definitely so. This is the kind of fun stuff it starts to do pretty early, obviously, where you like, you get the enemies to shoot all that glass, and then you just like fire off the death trap and kill them all instead of trying to punch them all to death. And that stuff gets more complicated as you go on. There will start being like proximity mines that when you get near them, they start going, but you can pick them up and throw them, and you can stick them to enemies like in Goldeneye. So there's some really good spots where you can like intentionally get a mine armed and then whip it at somebody and just sort of like shift through a wall so they can't get you, and then they blow up, which is pretty good. There's also an enemy that has like a grenade launcher, and you can catch the grenades and throw them back, which is pretty good. So let's time this out right.
Yeah, I think this kind of landed as like of the modern top-down games. This is like my second favorite of these. It's like Hotline Miami, and then this, and then Ape Out, and then I don't know what else after that. But
Are there more?
yeah, there's a ton of Hotline Miami clones out there. If you're looking for them, most of them I don't think were, real sticky or whatever, but.
Yeah.
I was trying to think. I know I've played at least a couple of other ones, but I can't think of what they are offhand. Stuff like melee-focused top-down games. There's also like a ton of, whatever dual-stick shooters and stuff like that. But that's not the same thing.
I mean, Hotline Miami is kind of that. Depends on how you play it with keyboard and mouse, I guess.
Does anybody play with a gun in that game? Come on. You just pick up a shotgun once in a while.
It's true.
And then mostly how you throw it at somebody.
What you really want is that knife. Because there's no attack animation.
Or you want the well, in Hotline Miami 2, the are they geese that have the one has a chainsaw? That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Also, there's which mask is it? The frog that has the drill in Hotline Miami 1?
I think so. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I played that.
I feel like I should replay that game.
Is that
game's real good.
2012?
2012?
That sounds about
Yeah.
right.
Might have even been 2011, actually.
Was that?
2012, according to Steam.
Yeah, that sounds right. Okay.
October 2012.
This is a gamepad recommended game. Just in case you were wondering.
It is. It is.
Is this where you get the big story twist once you steal the Mega Plutonium?
Yes. Well, big twist.
Mega plutonium just as a concept. I think that's really strong.
It's not just
I
regular.
just have to
plutonium.
say, I checked the Steam page to see when Hotline Miami came out, and then I scrolled down, and it says what your curators say. On the stick says, crowbar to the face, stab a dude with a broken pool cue, which Yeah,
That's correct.
I forgot that we
Yeah.
had a Steam creator page.
I
honestly.
wasn't even aware that it was there.
I was, I was
Here we go.
gonna say.
I can't remember if you wrote that or me, Eric.
I don't. Yeah, Mike and I did a little bit. It might have been Maddie also did a few, I think. But I don't know who did that one. It's good though. Whoever did that, good job by them.
Yeah,
the
excellent.
the like treating your enemies like Dracula in a Hammer horror film when you stab them with a pool cue is pretty good. Now that you mention it.
Or my favorite is the extremely cruel pouring, like knocking them down and then pouring a pan of boiling water into their face for no reason.
Yep. Yeah.
Not for no reason, to kill
Well, I
them.
mean, yeah, but it's like that game is mostly about total efficiency. So to do that, you have to make time.
Stop and smell the roses, you know?
Yeah. So should we talk about Death Come True? Because I mean, again, there's not a lot to say about.
I don't. Do you want to stream like the first like 10 minutes of that, or is it?
No,
not
I think I'm just gonna keep playing. I'm
Feel
just gonna
it a
keep.
little
I'm
bit.
just gonna play Mr. Shifty while we talk about it. I think is better, especially since it opens with a like a very polite ask to not stream it.
Yeah, I think that it specifically says like complete playthroughs or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, it would be super easy to totally screw them.
But I don't. I
mean,
mean,
I'm-
I feel like we're
I
going to talk
don't-
about it for longer than it would be good to show the game itself.
yeah, it's.
So-
I mean, it's basically just like it's basically it's a movie, right?
It's
like
yeah, it really is.
it's not an FMV adventure game, anything like that. It's just like a choose your own.
It's-
What was that? There was a Netflix thing that was kind of like that I
Bandersnatch.
never watched.
Bandersnatch, you know.
Yeah.
I heard kind of mixed
and-
reviews about that, so I never
thought it was
checked it
fine.
out.
It actually, the game is actually quite like a Black Mirror episode. So I want to do like just kind of talk about it in general terms, and then give a fair warning to anybody watching this, like when we go full spoiler, because I do want to actually talk full spoiler about it. But let's start just with kind of what it is. So it's you wait. It's a. I don't think it's spoiling anything to say it's a time loop thing. It's a Groundhog's Day, Russian Doll,
Right.
Tom Cruise in robot pants. What the hell was that game or that movie called?
Edge.
Edge of Tomorrow.
I love that movie.
The movie's great.
So this is the reason I got turned onto it is because it is written by the same person that wrote the Danganronpa games. And this is kind of like a little bite-sized version of the kind of thing that you see in that series. Although it definitely not like those games are like 40 to 50 hours long. Well, 25 to 40 hours long. And so you spend a lot of time like talking to the characters. And it's why the first and the third one are so good and why the second one is kind of a tough road to hoe, because the characters in the first and the third one are pretty fun to be around, and the ones in the second one just suck.
Yeah. So
But anyway,
it's murder mystery isn't quite the way to put it, but it's kind of a mystery thing. It's a time loop mystery.
right, you're playing as, or the main protagonist of the thing wakes up in a hotel room to a phone ringing, and then he looks over at the TV and he sees a picture of himself, and it says that he is a serial killer and that he's on the run from the police, but he doesn't remember who he is or what he's doing there. And your job is to watch all these little scenes that are like 5-10 minutes long, and then usually at the end of them you get to make a choice, and then depending on what choice you make, you either advance the story or you die and you go back to the beginning of the thing.
Yeah. And the way it introduces it is you basically get one choice early on that definitely results in death. Or it presents it the way the screen lines it up is it makes it feel like, I think if you pan around you actually do have a second choice, but it sort of sets it in a way where I was like, oh, I guess that must be the only thing I can do. And then when you do that thing, you die. And then you wake up again, and it's like, what? But you remember, your character remembers the thing that happened before. So it turns into, trying to figure out through trial and error, very similar to Russian Doll. It's like, What is the thing that will let me survive and get me out of this predicament?
Yeah.
This is an FMV game.
Yeah, it has a pretty limited budget, I think, for the most part. But I think that they spend the money where they need to. Like, it's the sets are all real small. Like, it's like the hotel room, the lobby, and a warehouse, and that's kind of it as far as the sets are concerned. And I think that the two lead actors do a really fantastic job. It's all in Japanese.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I said, it's
You agree that it's in Japanese?
Yes, I do.
Kazutaka Kodaka is the name of the person that wrote it, and he was the one that did most of the work on like the production work on the writing and the creation for Danganronpa, and then he and the person behind the 999 series of games, and Masafumi Takada, who is the composer for Danganronpa, they all left to make their own company, and this is like the first thing that they've put out.
I forgot that was a collaboration between those two guys.
Yeah, I don't know if this game is actually Kotaro Uchikoshi is the name of the Zero Escape director. I don't know if he's involved with this one or not, but anyway, I just wanted to clarify all that because they aren't at Spike Chunsoft anymore. So if there's any more Danganronpa anything, then
I'll play it.
Then it won't be from the original writer. I think most of the stuff that they've put out under that title that wasn't by him was pretty little dubious, to say the least, including an anime series and a spin-off thing. But anyway, yeah, Death Come True. There really isn't a lot to, since it is just a movie where you choose your own adventure your way through it. There really isn't much more to say about it other than that. But I heard about it a while ago and put it on my wish list, and then it was on sale during the Steam thing, and I played it, and I was like, oh, I think that Joe might enjoy this, and I think that Kurt might enjoy it, or like I think Anthony and Abby might have a good time playing through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Honestly,
it's like a well put together TV show or something in terms of its production value.
It's like
Sorry, go ahead.
It's like it's very much like a visual novel that is an FMV game instead of just like illustrations, because it has like it's pretty on rails. You make a couple of decisions and you can see different there's a mechanic where you get rewarded for finding all the ways to die, which I have not done. I may or may not go back and do it. There are some pretty wild ways to die.
I think I have about a half to 2/3 of them.
Yeah, same here. And I just got that from one playthrough. You know.
Well, we're not in spoiler territory yet.
Yeah, so we can move to spoiler territory if we feel like that's kind of where we're at. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I actually went back through and got all of the deaths. I think actually my biggest complaint with the game is that it needs like a real scrub bar instead of like it has a thing that you can skip ahead or forward or back a few seconds, 10 seconds at a time or whatever. But it would be nice if you could scrub through the scenes, or just straight up skip them and just go to the choice, so that way you can make the choice that you didn't make last time. And it would be nice if they accelerated that a little bit.
Yes, I agree with that. Are we going to go into spoilers?
We can. I don't know, unless there's anything else you want to say about the... Did you guys watch the death tube clips?
No,
of that TV announcer? They are fucking so there's all these, after you die, you get the death token, and then you can use the death token to unlock these things they're called death tube in the menu. And they are basically like some outtakes and some behind the scenes footage, but the outtakes are all of the weird TV announcer guy.
Yeah.
He's sitting in the studio talking to the people that are like on his right and his left, his commentators, but it's just him like fucking with them and doing like weird improv skits where they try and stay in character, and he always ends up cracking them up.
That's really funny.
And they are really weird and bizarre and pretty funny. It's like that could have been its own like 5-minute weird Netflix show. It's just this guy like repeating this, starting the newscast off the same way every time, and then just taking it a weird direction to freak out his
co-stars.
co-stars. Yeah, I highly recommend going back and checking at least like the very first one of those out.
Yeah. So I think right now, so again, to anybody watching who is thinking about playing this game, you have to play it in one sitting. It takes less than 2 hours to do one full playthrough.
Yep.
If you're thinking about playing it, you should probably stop watching now because we are going to spoil the shit out of it.
It's also important to note that if you have to play it in one sitting because it doesn't save at all.
Right, it
Otherwise
won't-
you
it won't
start
let you
over
save.
at the beginning.
Yeah.
And there's some paths that you can't go down if you haven't gone to the other dead end first, and so
Right.
replaying it takes. Like I said, I wish that the tools to relive the scenes were a little more player friendly. But other than that, I don't really have anything else bad to say about it.
Yeah, I
So-
agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was playing along and it was getting pretty late, and I was like, well, I could stop now and then play it for like another hour or so and finish it before we do this. And then I waited until I died, and every time you die, it says, continue or end. And I
Yeah,
was like, okay, end. And it said, oh, you're going to lose all your progress. I was like, oh, okay, well, all right, I'll keep playing. So I kept playing, and then you get to a point in the thing where you're talking to the concierge, the navigator,
Navigator.
Mhm.
and he says, like, well, you have to quit playing the game to get out of
Right,
this.
yeah.
yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, so maybe the game was lying to me about end being a problem, and that's what I needed to do. And so
Yeah.
then I did that, and then I quit out, and I lost everything, and then I was super annoyed.
I thought that also
Yeah.
mostly because I had played all those Danganronpa games, and it's like that is definitely a thing that this guy would do.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like having like X-Men on the Sega Genesis flashbacks, right? Where like you get stuck in Mojo World and it's like you got to reset the game and it's like, wait, what? And then you have to actually reset your Genesis to go to the next
Right.
stage. But I did not follow through with it because when I went to quit and then it was like, are you sure? Because it'll really it'll wipe your progress. I was like,
Yeah.
maybe I'll just see where this goes.
Right.
And
Right.
you know what I mean? If I
Yeah.
can always quit later,
Yeah, right. Well, the interesting thing was so that's when I started. Prior to that, even when I was replaying scenes, I let it run, and I didn't screw with it at all. But once I did that, then I was like fast forwarding, and as Eric said, that's when I was like, ugh, this would be a lot more enjoyable if I could just jump to the decision or whatever, because I've already seen all of this. Like, it's not changing. But I did end up with you take her to her room.
Her being like
Or
a detective.
there's
Alright,
a
so
woman
yeah.
in the bathroom of the hotel room that you're in. She's tied up. At first, I thought she was dead. She's not dead. She's just tied up and knocked out. Or
Oh,
whatever.
she is
He
dead.
chloroforms her.
She is
No,
dead.
She's not
not.
dead. She's not dead.
She's definitely dead.
She's not
In
dead.
the bathtub at the beginning? No, she's
She's
not.
dead the whole time, as a matter of fact.
Well,
Well, okay, sure.
Hallucinating.
Yes.
That's-
Within the larger context
the
of the
big
game.
spoiler at the end.
Yes. But however, within the simulation, she is not dead.
Yeah.
I did find it humorous that every time he carries her around, he kind of does a fireman's carry, except she is also kind of piggybacking on him.
She's piggybacking, yeah. Which is like, how did he
But I
even
think
pick
he's
her
too
up
short
that way?
to really
Yeah.
do it. So that always looked really funny to me. But anyway, you take her back to her room, and the first real big decision after you get out of your room is she says, well, you have to untie me, and you have to decide, do you do that or not? And the first time I was like, yeah, sure, because
Yeah.
even though I knew it was a trick,
Uh-huh.
I was like, yeah, sure, let's see what happens. Which is I played most of this game going, okay, the wrong path is this one, so let me take that, because I want to see how I'm gonna die. But in that one, you could, in some of them, like Eric was saying, you end up going, once you die, then you kind of rewind back, and then you can take the other path and see the other stuff. For that one, you don't. So when I replayed it, I was like, okay, well, I won't untie her. And then I got a whole other thing that I'd
Uh-huh.
never seen
Right.
that was pretty great.
So, yeah, if you So I feel like we very briefly talked about the beginning when we were non-spoiler, and I feel like we need to kind of talk about the beginning
Yeah, we should
again.
probably, yeah.
So you play a guy who wakes up in a hotel room with amnesia and sees on the news that he's a serial killer. We covered that part. The first thing that happens is a cop knocks at the door of your hotel room after realizing there's a woman in the bathtub, tied up, bound and unconscious in the bathtub. So you can decide. The only option I think you get on the first go is to open the door.
That's true.
Right.
And so you
I
have
re-verified that the second time I played through.
Okay, yeah.
Was that there was no other option.
Yeah, so you open the door and the cop comes in, and I definitely remembered, as I got a memory refresh of when I was in Japan, and the cops all wear white socks with their black uniforms, and it's hilariously weird, because you can see the cop's white socks at one point. But basically the cop, like, he shoots you and kills you. After you try to like wrestle his gun away from him, which is kept on his holster with like a phone cord, basically.
Yeah, I found that really
Which,
odd.
yeah, I don't. That seems like if you were gonna take a cop's gun and use it on the cop, it doesn't really feel like that would really stop you from doing that. But I don't, whatever. Anyway,
Yeah.
so the cop kills you, and then you wake up again in the bed. With the phone ringing and all that stuff.
Right, it starts over, yeah.
But
And
you
the
remember.
main character goes, "Am I a Groundhog Day?"
Right, yeah.
Did you guys see Palm Springs, by the way?
No, I didn't watch
It's fucking
that one.
great.
Was it? I heard.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
great.
yeah, I heard
I
it was
loved
really
it.
good.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, it's
Was
on
that
my list to
Netflix
see.
or was that which service was that? Was that a
Hulu? I
Hulu
think it's
thing?
on Hulu.
I believe it's
Yeah.
Hulu, yeah.
That's probably why nobody's seen it, because it's on a thing nobody has. But
Right.
between that and Fargo, I have justified my Hulu for the last few months. But anyway, that's
New
just
Veronica Mars
another
was on Hulu, too.
that's another one of those time loop things.
No, we're talking about good things,
Okay.
Kurt.
Uh-huh.
Anyway,
So what do you have to add to this? Nothing as per usual, then.
Correct.
all right. So I'm sorry, Joe. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
So then when you relive it, you have the option to hide in the closet, and when the cop comes in, that time, he finds the woman and he starts to leave, and then at that point you can either keep hiding, which I didn't see what happens if you keep hiding,
The
or
death man comes and hits you
does
with
he?
a pipe.
Is that what happens?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, so you get that reveal a lot sooner if you do it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I stayed hidden, I did not stay hidden. I went and smashed the cop in the head with a crystal vase, and when you do that, then you take the woman downstairs to her room, and that's where the thing Kurt's talking about, where you can untie her or keep her tied up. So I was like, okay, well, she's obviously trying to take advantage of me, so I'm just going to keep her tied up for now. And then that's when shit gets... So if you're playing this game for the first time, and this is the path you've taken, you haven't seen the Death Man yet, this is where shit gets weird. Because you go, okay, I'm not going to untie her, and then you hear someone screaming at your door, or her door, I guess, technically. You open the door, and this, Harajuku girl comes running in the room.
Danganronpa character shows up.
and is screaming about how she's being tortured by a poltergeist, but when you say it's a poltergeist, she tells you that's wrong and it's not a poltergeist, but and then she recognizes you and talks about what a fan she is of your work and how she wants to help you kill this woman who's tied up, who's surely your next victim.
She's like, oh, this is the next victim. Can I watch?
And then she does. She breaks her neck.
Yeah, she's like, well, then I'll do it instead.
Right.
Detective
In an incredibly stylish way, I thought.
Yes.
Sakamura, I think is her name, the detective.
Sachimura, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she does that, and then she gets mad at you for not killing her because she wants to die by
Yeah,
your
she's
hand.
like, I want to watch you kill her, and then you can kill me. And that'll be awesome.
Right, and so she punches you. She bludgeons you to death with her fists, basically.
Also,
accidentally.
the violence in this film is very
Completely bloodless.
PG,
Yeah.
maybe for
Yeah.
all the times you die. It's especially coming from the Danganronpa
like-
series where people die in very I mean, the blood is always pink, but there's a lot of pink.
There's some pretty gross ways to kill people in Danganronpa.
Yeah, extremely gruesome, especially as you get later into the series.
I think
It
they
gets-
just didn't want to spend the money on Caro
no,
syrup
I
and
don't
red
think
food
so.
coloring.
Yeah. I think it works. I think it works okay for what the thing is like.
Yeah.
So
But it makes it something that's a little easier to show other people and not
Yes.
just people who are fans of the old ultra violence.
Right.
I mean, what if I'm just a fan of the old Ludwig van, and
Sure.
maybe not as much of the old ultra violence? Did you know that at one point Triple H's theme music was the Ninth Symphony by Ludwig van Beethoven? Anyways, we
For more tweets like these,
uh,
follow at What a Maneuver.
so
What a maneuver.
Thank you.
I mean, obviously, I was talking about the
Yes.
Death Angel album, and I don't know what other references he's making. So,
right.
Thrash for Life. What? Yeah. So, anyways, yeah. So that's one of the weird like side endings that you can kind of get. That
Yeah.
doesn't really have any bearing.
It
There's a
has
couple
no
of
bearing
other
on
ones like that.
anything. And then,
Yeah.
so the option, if you do untie her, her partner shows up, or another detective, I guess, shows up. And he's...
Man, that guy's shifty as fuck.
the-
As soon as he showed up, I was like,
Fuji? Yeah.
Yeah, I
This guy's
mean, he has a...
He's the real Mr. Shifty.
Alex Rio, ladies and gentlemen, here we go.
See, you
Don't
said I
forget
didn't have
to
anything
tip
to
your
contribute.
waitress.
You said I had nothing to
I was
contribute.
wrong.
Now
And he
you look
was
foolish.
completely
I do
right.
look
All right. So, I did like his Green Bay Packers tie.
Yeah.
That was, you know.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen this guy, and I like his style.
He has a good look.
He does. He's got polka dotted socks as well. It's really he's working that wacky guy at the office look, even though he's a detective.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you get a hinky vibe about him pretty straight away, I would say. And you're right if you got that vibe off of him straight away.
because it turns out he's hinky.
Yeah, so that ends up. I'm trying to remember what happens from there. You die again, but I don't remember how at that point.
I think is this the first time that the death guy shows up?
Oh, yeah,
Death
right,
Man,
yeah,
the guy all
right,
dressed in
that's
black
right,
shows
yep.
up and kills everybody. I think.
Yeah,
right?
he shows up and kills everybody.
Yeah.
Kuji wants to go back to your room to get your cell phone because he wants to look at it.
Right.
And then you go with him, and then
No,
I
you
think
don't.
the
You
guy-
don't go with him.
Oh, right.
You
And
do
then the
not go
guy
with
shows up
him.
and kills everybody with a samurai sword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He leaves, and you stay with the female detective, and then you
Akane.
both get
Makoto and Akane are the other
You-
two.
and you both get killed.
They're also both characters' names from Danganronpa.
Are they?
Yeah, they are. Yep. I think Makoto is one of the protagonists, but I can't remember from which one.
Makoto's from Street Fighter 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, Makoto is the protagonist of the first game, and Akane is, I think, the protagonist of the second game, kind of. I just realized that now, but oh no, she's a character from the first game. Anyways, common Japanese names. But yeah, so anyways, then like that's the first time that you that's when you start to understand like the totality of what's happening and the different ways that things are gonna go. And then
Yeah,
after
it almost lost me at that moment, because I was like, why the hell did this weird, like, this fucker looks like Astaroth from Soul Calibur in a trench coat,
right, he looks really dumb.
and
Looks really dumb.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. You just said Astaroth in a trench coat. That sounds fucking cool to me.
It's both,
Okay.
yeah,
as it turns out. It's
as
both.
it turns out, it's both. Yeah. So I was like, what the
Dumbly
hell's going
cool.
on? So once
Coolly dumb.
you start getting a
Yeah.
kind of, I started getting a vibe that obviously things are not as they seem pretty early on. it's like, what's really going on here? Is this, are they in hell? Is it a hallucination? Is it, because your character's whole thing is like, I couldn't be a serial killer. Like, that ain't me, man.
I don't remember killing Serial.
Yeah.
This joke brought to you by Method Man and Red Man.
And so, the big reveal, it turns out.
Fire at your crew, hit the wrong group, happy birth, oop, 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 oop. Anyways, sorry.
So the big reveal is that you are in a simulation. So you find this out by, your character keeps having these weird flashbacks where he's like making out with he's kissing the detective. And it's like, well, if you're really a serial, that doesn't make any sense. Like, what's going on here? And it's sort of dropping you hints, and come to realize that the reason you're there, you try to escape the hotel at one point, and you can't go out the front door.
Right.
You can't.
That
open
happens
the
you
door.
try-
on in some of the
Yeah, you try and go out the window or look out the window or whatever. And
Right.
it's totally
Early
blocked
on,
out.
that happens. Yeah.
That's when the
cop
deaf man
shoots you.
comes and kills you the first time when you try and throw a chair through the window
Right.
after the cop leaves. And then he comes and murders you. But yeah, so then Makoto, yeah, you sort of figure out how to get through all of that and avoid Detective Kuji, and you get your cell phone, and then Makoto and Akane.
You get your cell phone by
they
dying
go down
again.
to the lobby trying to escape from the deaf man, and then the guy in the bellhop at the
Chet.
front desk.
Chet at the front desk.
Yeah, tells
If you
you.
need anything,
Yes.
my name is
My
Chet.
name is Chet.
Yeah.
Lives in a
And
little
then-
hatch behind the thing. He's got shoes.
You can ask him where to hide, and he points you in the direction of the hotel's
warehouse.
warehouse.
The
storage
hotel's
area.
warehouse.
And then it's important. It's important for you to remember at that point when you talk to him. He says, "Oh no, I'm the navigator." And
Right.
you're like,
Yeah.
"What? What the hell does that
You
mean?"
ask him to call the police, and he says he can't. He's just
Can't
a
do that. I'm
navigator.
just the navigator.
Right.
And that's an important.
Then there's a
thing.
little weird alien that pops out, and then he pilots a spaceship and flies away.
Uh-huh.
Dog ending from whatchamacallit? Silent Hill 2.
It's
But,
Silent Hill too, yeah. Ruff, ruff.
Except it's the claymation alien from. Anyway. Yeah, so then you end up with Akane in the hotel or warehouse, and then this is where your second weird death can come, if that's a thing that you want to explore, because one of the options is just you like hanging out there, and the guy from the TV announcer guy, he shows up and he's got like Coke like smeared across his face.
I did not see this
And
one.
he's trying to buy Coke from you, and then you're like, you know that this lady is a police investigator, right? And then I think he murders you both. And then the next time you wake up after that one, I think that, or after you die from that one, there's a newscast talking about how the ex-host of the news TV show, the news magazine show, went crazy of trying to buy cocaine from a cop at a hotel warehouse and murdered a bunch of people, and that's why he's not on the show anymore. So,
That one I did not
see that.
yeah.
did not see that one. So you start putting this stuff together, and
Makoto and Akane have a little chat about some of Makoto's flashes of his memories of them, and then like
Right, while
she's
you're
kind of
hiding in the
unsure,
warehouse,
but
yeah.
right.
but she starts to kind of believe him. You show her your phone. Your phone is a thing about like, meet me at 8:00. Don't kill her until I get there.
Right.
She's like, that's suspicious. What the?
And so
What the?
you go and wait until
Back in your
room. Although I don't know what happens if you choose, so as it turns out, you should have gotten her gun. And
If you try to
didn't.
choose the wrong room at this point, then the game, she just goes, "That's my room," or she goes,
Yeah,
"There's no
she
point
won't let
going
you
back to
go.
that
Yeah,
room."
right.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, because
she
I
just
tried
won't
that
let
one. I
you?
ended up ending and then having to restart.
Gotcha.
I was like, well, I'll just go there first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were times where I wish the game again, like a lot of this stuff, you can feel like there might have been something here, but they kind of ran out of money to shoot it. You know, they only had a certain amount of time to put this all together. But also, I think it's fine because it helps, like, it means that you aren't spinning your wheels very much. Like, you're kind of always moving forward towards the conclusion of the thing. And I think that helps make it feel more like a TV show or a movie, and less like one of those horribly frustrating FMV games where...
Less like Night Trap.
Yeah, like Night Trap, or what was that? I can't remember. There was there's a time travel one starring Rob Schneider that is like kind of like what this is trying to be, but there's like millions of little clips, and it's just like impossible to make progress because it's constantly failing you and pushing you back, and then there's like timed action presses. I don't remember.
Time travel FMV game with Rob Schneider?
Uh-huh.
I feel like I need to play this. This is like on the level of the Gallagher light gun game that never came out. This
game definitely came out. A Fork in the Tail, it's called.
This was during the great multimedia
97.
boom of... Okay, yes. Right.
Yep.
What's it, on just PC, or was it on PlayStation too, or PlayStation as well?
Windows. I think it was just a Windows thing.
Just Windows. Okay, that's...
Yeah, Wikipedia says Windows.
I need to look this up. Like
there's a giant bomb. I think it probably was an unprofessional.
PC Gamer US calls A Fork in the Tail, quote, a dismal flop, and uniformly banned by critics and avoided by gamers who bought less than 1,000 copies.
Definitely the way to experience this game is to watch Vinny play it on Giant Bomb on whatever episode.
Not fondly
UPF that was, but
not fondly remembered in the same way as was that Toonstruck with Christopher Lloyd, or
yeah,
Ripper with Christopher Walken.
Yeah, so I mean, those games are actual.
They're just adventure
games, or Phantasmagoria 2. Like, there are things to recommend those as kind of like corny, stupid FMV adventure games. But A Fork in the Tail is more like this, where it's just like a bunch of like random but it's just like, instead of having an arc to it that makes sense and good acting performances, it's just like a bunch of 30-second clips of Rob Schneider doing really, really bad comedy that are all sort of tied together into QuickTime events that you fail constantly, and so you're forced to watch the same bad comedy.
So wait, it's Dragon's Lair, but with Rob Schneider.
Kind of, yes. Kind of. It's more like that.
So I want you guys to know that if I die and go to hell, that's what they're going to be like. You can play all the video games you want, but every video game is Rob Schneider doing shtick in Dragon's Lair.
Since it's hell, it would be like magical reinterpretations. Like, there's one that's like an FMV Rob Schneider's dressed up as Mario, but that's like, so you pick Super Mario Bros. Off the shelf, but it's just a million dumb clips of Rob Schneider comedy as him dressed as Mario, pretending to be Mario.
I can play Contra, but it's shirtless Rob Schneider doing Dragon's Lair shit instead of Contra. For all of eternity. Anyways, so once you go back to the room, and it turns out the other detective is the one who is setting this up to meet you. And actually, really, at that moment, if you're really, really on the ball with paying attention to stuff, like, you kind of have this, you can have the story figured out at that moment.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it doesn't give you quite enough. I mean, I had it figured out before the game acts like it's a reveal later. But I had it figured out a little before that.
There's like a bunch of like weird glitchy things that happen at other various points. Even before this a little bit, and then after this you see it like a lot, and it's just like, it's pretty obvious at this point that it's some kind of simulation.
Right. Well, I don't mean that. I mean like who's doing what and what's.
Oh yeah.
Who's the bad guy and that kind of thing. I mean, he's the bad guy to an extent, but you don't really fully grok what extent he's the bad guy. So that scene ends when the Death Man shows up and like everything just glitches out. Or no, sorry,
he's not just cosplaying Razor Ramon. He's actually a bad guy.
Right. Yeah. But things like that, there's like some reveal that you feel like is coming, where it's like the guy is like, oh, I, blah, 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 such and such, this and that. And then right before he says something that seems like it's probably important, they, like, both of the detectives freeze. and then you die, and then you wake up again, and then it tells you have a flashback of someone telling you, like a doctor type figure telling you, like, oh, go to if you have any problems, go to the navigator. And so every time the phone rings in the morning, you get a thing that's like, oh, hey, if you need anything, go to the front desk. And then when you talk to the front desk guy in the previous life, he tells you, I can't call the police, I'm the navigator. So oh, if I'm supposed to go see the navigator at the front desk. And you have some other options. I didn't try any of the other options because I was just like, oh, I'm supposed to go to the navigator, so I'm going to do that. But there are other choices when you leave the room in the next life to do stuff that isn't just go directly to the front desk and see the navigator.
Yep.
But I did that, and that's when you find out about the simulation stuff. So, like, I was, with the glitchy and everything, I was kind of getting, I mean, actually, even without, in hindsight, I'm getting, like, pretty strong 13th Floor vibes. You guys remember that movie, The 13th Floor?
Nope.
It's like a pre-Matrix, well, it's kind of,
vaguely familiar.
yeah, it wasn't a hugely popular film, but it was an interesting one. Came out, I think, in 98, I want to say, and it's a futuristic, nested simulation,
Right.
kind of shit. So this kind of reminded me of that. So the navigator explains, like, hey, you're in a VR simulations based on someone's memories. But the reason that you can't remember your previous life is because someone is hacking the simulation. And you might lose your memories forever if you stay here for too long. So, like, you should probably just leave. And you're like, how do I leave? And he's like, well, that game over screen you keep seeing? You can just hit end, which is why Kurt quit out and lost all his save game progress. Because the game over screen is treated as an in-universe thing at that point, which I thought was actually a pretty clever working of that. Of like, oh, yeah, when you see this game over screen, like, you can just leave and go back to the real world.
You do.
Yeah, right.
And you do, but not in the way that I was
Your
trying.
progress.
But,
yeah.
Technically, like, Kurt beat the game before the game beat itself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's a moment then after that, you go back up to your room and you're like, all right, well, I figured it out, and I know, I figured out that she's whatever and I'm whatever, and I'm just going to, there's no reason to be here anymore, so I'm just going to...
We're both detectives.
Right. I'm just going to off myself and go back to the real world. But did any of you guys choose not to off yourself in that?
Did either of you guys get to the point where the Total Recall doctor shows
I was
up
just going to
and you end
say,
up in the
if you don't
hospital?
off yourself, you get a Total
Yes.
Recall ending.
Yeah.
Yep.
Except...
Which I love and is almost
And
certainly referent. Like I'm 100% certain that is intended as a Total Recall reference because.
Yeah. And when you die on that one, the name of your death is
Eaten by bugs.
Eaten by bugs.
Yeah.
2 or something like that. Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of
You get a
eaten by
bunch of
bugs
those. Yeah.
that's- But
As
if you
get
try and
later
like
in the story.
you try and revisit some of your previous choices, and instead of it killing you, it just like the simulation glitches out, and you have to start over again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that was the exact same thing I thought, Eric. I was like, this is a Total Recall riff, like the scene in where the doctor from the Recall commercial comes into Quaid's hotel room with Sharon Stone and is like, and then he sweats.
Sweat
you see
drop.
the bead of sweat,
there's
and
no sweat drop in
right,
this.
there's no sweat drop in this.
They ran out of budget for sweat.
That's right. I could pull this trigger and it wouldn't matter. Yeah, but then the doctor's like, oh, I'm your doctor, I'm going to help you, like, you're hallucinating, and then you just die in a hospital bed, so...
Yeah.
That one was fun, but then if you do pull the trigger, but then you decide, like, I'm gonna keep going, because I want to solve the mystery of what actually happened. So, what you come to find out, basically, is that the detective, the male detective, is basically on the take, and he killed he let the serial killer kill the lady detective because she was onto him.
This is Detective Kuji.
Yeah. He
Green Bay Packer tie guy.
Right. He let the serial killer kill the other detective, and then
Right.
killed him, so he could just say, "Oh, the serial killer got her,"
And then I took him down.
and I took him down. I saved the day. So like,
Right. Well, his thing is that he was basically he's on the take from the Yakuza or whatever, but he's trying to justify it by saying that he is using that money to solve
fight crime.
cases that the
Yeah.
police aren't
Right.
capable of solving, like the legal way. Like he's
Right.
whatever, he's out for vigilante justice, and he wants Akane to like join him and work with him, and she won't.
Right.
And so then he decides that he's gonna kill her and the serial killer and leverage that to continue to police in the way he wants to police.
that's right. He's a rogue cop who doesn't follow your rules. He doesn't
Yes,
play
and
by
this
the
is
book.
very clearly one of those things where the vigilante rogue cop is not looked upon favorably by
No,
the,
yeah.
the people making the video game.
For once.
That's
For
right.
once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the scene where all of this happens at the end is very interesting because so the whole thing about the VR thing is it pulls from the memories of whoever. So this VR simulation is based on the memories of the dead serial killer and the dead woman police detective.
Right. You're playing from the perspective. Your character is actually the detective, but he's playing in the simulation. He's playing the role of the serial killer.
Right. And
Yeah.
the hacker, the
You
mysterious
don't actually
hacker,
see what the real serial killer looks like.
you
right?
never see what he looks
Yeah.
like now.
Okay.
The hacker is actually the other detective, Green Bay
Kuti,
Packer
yeah.
guy. Yeah.
Green Bay Packer guy.
Yeah, he's the hacker because he'll get found if you solve if the detective you play as, who I don't think is ever actually named, but if he figures out, he'll throw the book at this rogue detective who doesn't play by your rules. So, obviously he wants to stop that, which is why he's hacking the simulation. And so the final decision is he's like, I've hacked it so that like you could just stay here with her forever. Because when you go back to the real world, like she's fucking dead, bro. Because I fucking killed her. But I made it so you can stay here in this like happy VR simulation and just be like happy and in love with her forever. And then I can get away with my shit. Because I'm a motherfucker.
And everybody wins.
Right. And she
It'd
like
be great, right?
I mean, I was definitely not going to take that option either way, but she like actively discourages you to do it. Like,
I didn't pick that. Did either of you guys pick
No,
that?
I didn't either. I was going to watch it on YouTube, but I didn't have time.
Yeah.
No, I did
I'm
not pick that.
actually curious.
No, I was like,
what-
fuck that guy.
Yeah, I'm curious though what
Yeah. I was going to go back and check it out.
happens, when you. Oof. So yeah, so then
I
and
was having a
then
Mr. Shifty moment.
right. So when you go back to the real world, then you get like a little epilogue that basically says like, "Yep, that fucking dude got arrested for, murdering the late detective and the serial killer, basically, because rather than arrest the serial killer when he had the chance, he let him kill the late detective and then shot him. So he's under arrest for like a couple murders and also like taking bribes from the Yakuza or whatever. So
Yeah. Everything came out.
yeah. And so he's, but I don't know what happens if you choose to stay in the simulation. I imagine it's not a good ending.
Looks like they leave the hotel, and the bellhop makes a weird face at him. So I don't know.
Speaking of Mr. Shifty, that bellhop.
Yeah.
Chet, if you need anything, just let him know.
Chet. Yeah, my name is Chet.
So yeah. Anyway, that stuff comes true. I had a good time with it.
Yeah,
Me too. Yep.
I don't go in for
I was
visual
happy I'd
novels.
spent time on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't go in for visual novels generally, but
I mean,
since
usually
this
they're
is-
40 hours long, right?
Right, and they're just static images. It's a lot of staring at the same static image of like a cute anime girl or David Bowie or whatever. So,
I mean, I remember how much you enjoyed Doki Doki Literature
Oh,
Club,
God.
but other than that,
I liked the David Bowie one that Maddie sent us during Extra Life a couple of years ago that I played for like an hour. The one where you get to. I didn't even get far enough to actually start dating any of the David Bowies, but I met a lot of the David Bowies, so that one was pretty good.
Met a lot of the David Bowies. This is my David Bowie cover band.
Right, but this is. I mean, again, it's not really a visual novel. It's like a choose your own adventure movie, basically.
Yeah.
but I think, like I said, the three main performances are all really strong. In fact, the woman she was in Kill Bill and and Battle Royale, which I assume is probably.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure that
the girl with the mace in
yeah.
Kill Bill.
I thought she
So-
looked familiar, but I couldn't check.
Yeah.
She's the
And then-
crazy girl in both those
In
movies.
both of those
Yeah.
movies. Yep. Absolutely.
But yeah, I think it's $20 normally. I think it was on sale for like 15, something like that. But yeah, like for the price of a movie ticket or whatever to play it, especially if you could play it with a group of a couple of people, I think it's
Yeah, actually, I didn't know enough about it, and Megan is actually at like a work retreat right now.
Yeah.
So that's like, if I'd known, I feel like I probably would have suggested that she and I play it together, because that seems like the kind of thing she would have had fun with. Because I mean, like you said, you're mostly just watching it, for a lot of but it's well done. It's for compared to a lot of other sort of interactive movie type things that have existed historically in that space, it does a better job, of that than a lot of those.
I mean, there's actually been quite a few like pretty good ones of those in the last like 3 or 4 years. Going like Her Story in particular, I think is the one that is obviously.
I was actually going to mention that how I don't feel like it didn't quite get to the level of Her Story, but I also still haven't played.
Definitely not.
I haven't played Telling Lies.
Yeah.
I've heard the
haven't either.
song. Oh,
Same.
that's Tell Me Lie. Okay, never mind.
Oh, no, there is actually a Menzinger song called Telling Lies, which is really good.
Oh, okay,
but,
okay.
But I also heard that is it just called Contradiction? I haven't played that one either.
Yeah, I
I've heard
mean,
that one is good.
you could play that, or you'd probably be better off. You should buy a copy of it and then watch Austin, Vinny, and Alex on Giant Bomb play through it, because that's probably the best series of videos on that website, is them playing through that game. Especially the moment when the detective throws up the metal horns. It's really incredible. There's some, I mean, that game is like, it's like a good time. Like, it knows what it is, right? It's like a corny, goofy B grade FMV story.
I think
but
if you're...
it's also like a pretty fun, like weird conspiracy thing. Like, you can have a good time with that. There's one where you play as a psychiatrist, and then there's a not a sequel, but like a follow-up to Contradiction, where you play, it's called The Shape-Shifting Detective, where you play as the same guy that played Detective Jenks in Contradiction, but you I want to say you can after you talk to somebody, you can become them and then interact with the other characters in the game as that character, but I have not actually played that one. But there's like quite a few like decent FMV, like they're not. I think the reason why these work better is, first of all, because they have an understanding of why all those other FMV games failed back in the day, and also like the technology is just better for like video, whatever, watching videos on your computer is just better now than it was before.
Well, some of those
and the acting performances are better. Like, they aren't getting like Christopher Walken or Tim Curry or whatever overpaying them to fucking mail it in. They're getting like, smaller name actors that are actually interested in the material.
How dare you, sir? Tim Curry's delivery of the line about going to the one place that hasn't been polluted by capitalism is
I was actually thinking of the Frankenstein game.
Oh God, yeah. Didn't we play?
Yeah.
Did you play that on stream for Halloween a couple years ago?
We might have, yeah. It's not good.
No. But I think that one of the things about some of those games, like stuff like Night Trap and Double Switch in particular, like those watching a playthrough of Night Trap, or like on the modern version, you can unlock just like basically watching Night Trap the movie, where it shows you all of the scenes. Is the game punishes you for wanting to watch the fucking thing, because you're supposed to be catching the augurs and not watching people have conversations. But watching the cheesy acting and all that dumb shit is like, that's why you watch horror movies. I don't want to stop the girls from getting killed. That's not the point of watching a fucking slasher movie, you know? And that's those games fail because they don't understand that. And then later ones, like, I mean, we talked a little bit about Dragon's Lair and the Rob Schneider thing, but like Time Traveler from Sega, right? Like, it was a Laserdisc game that was a hologram, and that was like, oh man, like people, I paid $1 for that game more times than I ever should have as a kid, just to be like, it's a hologram, holy shit, and then, but it's terrible. All you do is like, it's QuickTime Events, the video game, and that sucks. Yeah. And so, a Choose Your Own Adventure is like not the best gameplay experience necessarily, but it's a lot fucking better than Dragon's Lair, but shitty.
Yeah.
And Dragon's Lair is overrated, honestly. I mean, the best way to experience Dragon's Lair is to watch somebody do a full playthrough of it successcally.
Actually, it's better to watch somebody unsuccessfully, like, watch all the death scenes is the best way to play that. I think Supermassive games probably should get a shout out because they aren't actual FMV games, but they're basically FMV games. You know, like Man of Medan and Until Dawn, and that new one that just came out this year, which I can't remember.
Yeah, what's the new one? The new Dark.
Oh, those are a good time, right?
Hope or something like that.
Like those do a good job of setting up the killing contraption from a good horror movie, and then letting you try and outsmart it, which I think is a fun way to try and make that work.
Right.
Especially because it's almost impossible to actually make it through those games without getting a bunch of people killed.
I mean, it's also more fun when you get, like, I felt like when I reached the end of Until Dawn, I was like, how come more people aren't dead?
Yeah. It's pretty easy to get a lot of people killed at the end of that one if you want to.
That's true. Well, there's some, because that also, I mean, I liked that game, all right, but it does turn into QuickTime Event, the video game, at the very end.
Yeah.
For sure. Like,
but they're not, unlike QuickTime Events and like Resident Evil or whatever, where you miss the cutscene, where you miss the QuickTime event and then fail. That game just lets you fail forward, right?
Right. Yeah.
You fail the QuickTime event, and then usually something bad happens or somebody dies or whatever. But it doesn't take you to a game over screen. There's kind of no way to get a game over screen in that game.
Yeah.
Which I think is definitely the right way to do it. And because it's a horror game, I think that playing it with the intention of saving everybody is not really the spirit of the thing, right?
Right. Also, like, one of the things I love about that game is that, like, it has now, like, Academy Award nominee Rami Malek as, like, the asshole guy.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't famous yet when they made it.
Right.
Like, he wasn't even on Mr. Robot. Mr. Robot was out by the time the game came out, but, like, when he did all the, like, face and voice capture stuff for it, Mr. Robot wasn't even on yet. So he was, like, super not famous.
You got that Peter Stormare.
Peter Stormare is the psychiatrist.
Yeah. He's so fucking weird and creepy in that.
Well, and like The Office, like
very on brand for him.
shifts into this like Lovecraftian.
Not in that.
Yeah,
he's so fucking weird and creepy. Period.
In everything.
Period. That's true. That's why I said it was on brand.
In everything that he's in, anyways. Yeah. So listen, I guess what we're saying is FMV games, they're good actually.
Yeah.
No.
They can be good.
They can be good.
Like anything.
Modern FMV games can be good.
I mean, I think it depends on what you qualify as an FMV game, I guess. Because, like Eric was saying, some of those ones that are basically just point-and-click adventures. Yeah, Phantasmagoria.
It's not a good game, but
what's the one?
It's got like all that janked out puzzle game.
There's
the janked out adventure game puzzle logic that kind of sucks, but play it with a guide and you'll have fun.
Roberta Williams had a lot of that shit in a lot of her games, not just Phantasmagoria. But what's the one? There's a Wing Commander spin-off that has like a pre-famed Clive Owen in it. Privateer, I think it's called. Is that?
I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember the name of it. Let's see. Wing Commander.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a lot of. Okay. Let's say if you
An
search
adventure space trading and combat simulator. Origin Systems 1993. Let's Control F for Clive Owen. There we go.
You play as him, I'm pretty sure, in
Yeah.
that game.
Jurgen Prochnow's in it too.
Oh, he's in
Wow.
this movie called
And
Gun Blast
Christopher Walken.
Vodka?
John Hurt.
Oh
Man.
boy.
Yeah, let's not talk about
It's
that
Privateer
ever again.
2,
Oh, you right. The Darkening.
The Darkening.
Hey, do you guys remember Gunblast Vodka?
No,
Try
shut up.
not
Next
to.
question.
I don't.
Try to
I don't
avoid
remember.
it.
I don't think I
whenever
remember
possible.
it actually. I know we
Actually,
watched it.
I don't remember it, but I remember being fucking pissed.
I would
about
say I remember being angry about it. I remember the lady detective who smokes gigantic cigars, and we were like, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, but not this time.
This is not one of those times.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't. I
So,
don't really.
yeah,
I don't have
I
anything else to say about Death Come True. But yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah.
Was a
And
good
obviously,
time.
you should have played it before you listened to this, unless you don't care
Yeah.
about spoilers.
You really
But
don't
yeah.
care, but,
also, shout out Observer because that also has some of that stuff, but with Rutger Hauer
Yeah.
as the actor. But
Yeah.
We're
So
going out for Rutger Hauer.
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I
so
almost
guess,
sent you that, Joe.
Yeah, you mentioned that was on the list of stuff where you were like, "Hey, have you played this?" And
That's a good time too. If you like games like Her Story, but you want like a weird cyberpunk version starring Rutger
more
Hauer.
Rutger Hauer.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I do
I,
want that.
and I think so. There was these really bad stealth sequences, but I think they put an option in to like
To
skip
just
through
not
those
do
now.
those.
So it's probably a better time than it was when I played it. But anyway,
Yeah. I feel like
Merry Sticksmas, Joe.
Yeah,
Merry
thank you.
Sticksmas.
So we'll be
Hooray!
back next week with I don't know what, but we all gave games to each other to play on the stream for.
Other
I might be
things.
ready with Redacted. It's a secret.
Oh, is it?
Bum,
Okay.
bum.
I know
I
what
don't
it
know.
is.
I mean, yeah. It's just not to you guys necessarily, to our two
Yeah.
listeners.
I think it's a
Right.
secret to me. I'm not sure. I don't know.
I'm
what
not
I mean,
to
I
do.
can tell you, but I'm
No,
trying
don't
to
tell
be
'em.
cagey about it.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, that's fair. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream before you
End the
reveal
stream.
that to me. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. We'll be back next week with another Sticksmas secret-ish Santa exchange thing.
Merry Sticksmas, ho ho ho,
Bye.
Green
Ho,
Giant.
ho, ho.
Mhm. Mhm.
Hui, hui, hui.